wealth is a mindset, and wealth is living well today while planning for tomorrow.
Hey everybody, it's Avi Goldhart. Today we're talking with one of my really good friends, Sonia Booker, on a little show I like to call Spending Money. And now this show is going to be about entrepreneurship, about business, about investing, about finance, about real estate, and where Sonia spends her time and spends her money to get ahead. If you don't know who she is, check her out. She's been featured in Oprah magazine, she's had her own radio show, she's a multimillionaire investor. There's so many things that she does that empower the community at large, along with Black Americans in the USA today that help them get ahead. So I'm super excited to interview her and spend the day hanging out with Sonia. I'll see you in a second. Oh my God, Sonia Booker. Okay, we are here for the interview with Sonia Booker. I'm so excited to have the conversation with her because we're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about business, we're talking about real estate, how to build wealth, and one of my favorite topics, Black wealth in America. And I wouldn't have this conversation with anybody else but Sonia. Right off the bat, Sonia, where are you spending your money?
So I kind of like, look at industries, what industry is kind of foolproof, because at some point it doesn't make sense to be in real estate. Like right now, it doesn't make sense for me to be in real estate.
So that's
in
so
a
weird.
few months, it's going to make sense for me to be in real estate.
So I'm going to ask. So that's so contradictory to what a lot of people that are flipping, that are investing in real estate, that are buying property are saying.
Yeah.
Like, now is such a good time to be a real estate investor, to be an investor in whether it's rentals, whether it's in flips, new construction, community development, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you're saying something different. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Why?
well, I would buy land because people aren't really looking at land right now because it's like the cost of everything is so high to build. Like everybody's just kind of like, give me something that's ready, something I can get ready.
Yeah.
And right now with the labor issues, the pricing, it's just kind of like, okay, I'll let some of that stuff get worked out.
Like die down a little bit, right? It's like, let me rebalance this for a second.
Yeah.
How did all this start? Like, where did the entrepreneurial drive start for you? Was it under the tutelage of your late mentor,
Herman Russell?
A.J. Russell?
Yeah.
Where did you get that? What was the trigger point for you?
And so I was always around entrepreneurship. I was always around politics, and I was always around land, which is like those things that I end up kind of being attracted to. My grandfather would always say, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. So he wouldn't let you dwell on the problem too much. It's just like, we'll solve it.
A lot of folks, even today, are like, here's the problem. The government's the problem.
Right.
My job's the problem. My income's the problem. You're the problem.
Right.
Sonia, you're the
problem.
Right. You're so much noise on Instagram. I'm like, you're my problem.
You're the problem.
But like they're blaming somebody else.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your grandfather.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a really interesting story. Maybe unpack his story.
So, but my grandfather always talked about ownership. He talked about land. He talked about entrepreneurship. Most people in my family are entrepreneurs. It was just kind of a sense of...
So the mindset shift wasn't, hey, I'm going to go work for somebody.
Yeah.
It's you're going to work for or work with an entrepreneur.
Right, yeah.
Or you're going to be an entrepreneur.
You're going to be an entrepreneur, right, yeah. When I went to college, it was like, you want to be a nurse, you want to be a teacher, you want to be, it was like, I had about 5 choices. And I was like,
Yeah.
No, I don't like blood. I don't want to teach anybody. It's kind of like...
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah,
I interned in high school. I interned at one of our family friends' doctor's offices, and I saw blood. I fainted. It wasn't even mine. It's like somebody was dripping blood going to the emergency room or something. I'm like... I nearly hit a bookshelf. He had to drive me home. It was so embarrassing. It's like, no, okay, cannot do this.
I cannot go in a field that has blood. My first job was with JCPenney, and I remember my grandfather
Do you
said...
secretly own JCPenney?
I don't.
You secretly own JCPenney?
No, which I think they went bust, right? No.
No, you own JCPenney.
And after a couple years, and that's where I was working. I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was working on my master's. And my grandfather would say, "Haven't you had enough experience? You know, and I'm like, this is a good job. And I'm thinking, he clearly doesn't know how the world works now. You know what I mean?
Clearly.
Clearly, you know, I have a 401k, they're matching my money, you know, like I'm doing pretty good here, you know. And he just saw it as experience. Like you get a job for experience. You don't get a job to stay on it. So learn whatever it is that's there for you to learn and get on with doing your, you know, what you're supposed to do, which is not have a job.
So when you bought your first property, talk to me about that experience, because that also can be a little intimidating for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
They're like, holy cow, what do I do? How much
Yeah.
research do I have to do? I have to look at school districts, crime, walkability. I mean, now they're like 1,800 factors. You go to Zillow and it just populates all
And
the
it
data for you. And you're like,
populates all
I don't
the-
even know, is this right? How do I know somebody's going to rent here?
So, I mean, the right approach is to definitely get the information. So I think the first process is really just to know what kind of investor you're looking to be and kind of do that self-inventory.
So right here.
Yeah,
Right here.
start there.
Yeah.
Start right there in between your head. And, you know, think in terms of the beginning and the end. You know, and that's important too, because if you don't, you get stuck. You get stuck in, you know, like, so some people get stuck flipping property. Like, but their long-term goal was really to have long-term wealth and,
Property.
you know, property, right? How do
Yeah.
you build wealth with property that you sell it all?
So
you know,
irritating. It's so irritating. It's like you're putting an asset on your balance sheet, and,
Yeah.
and then when you
yeah.
sell it, the asset's off your balance sheet.
And you
Granted,
leave so much money on the table, like that.
so much
yeah,
long-term.
So yeah,
It's
yeah.
embarrassing.
So that bothers me. Like,
Yeah.
So it bothers, you know, and so but if you're starting and you're building up and you say, okay, I want to flip until I get to a certain amount, then, you know, which was like my strategy. Like I totally started out wholesaling, just building up cash, you know, giving the contracts, finding properties, stuff like that, because I was like good at it. And
Yeah.
So and so I think that's where it starts. And that risk level, you got to know kind of your risk tolerance. You got to kind of know,
Yeah.
you know, how much money you really have that you're willing to invest, that you might be putting at risk.
how much would
because
you
it's
initially
still
start with?
investment.
If there's somebody that's saying, hey, I want to invest, and whether it's a business or real estate, how much do you recommend they start out with?
20%.
Okay, 20%
Like to have
of whatever.
20% of whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that they have access to, that they have it. It's not like 100% loan, you know, all that type of stuff. That you have at least 20% to do what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
So that's
So if you're flipping a
you
property,
know,
have 20% reserve.
20%
If you're buying a
reserve.
business, have 20% reserve. I want to switch the topic a little bit. You and I talked a lot last year about black wealth in America. How do you help Black America get ahead?
Yeah.
How the hell does that happen?
You have to inform Black America, and you have to inspire Black America too.
You do a phenomenal job with that. I mean, you are featured in Oprah magazine. You have Sunny Girl. You are an investor.
I write
You do all
books,
this stuff.
and I publish Black authors through the publishing company. And I was always the person walking into, you know, a big Georgia Real, a big, you know, kind of real estate convention or meeting. And I was always like immediately deemed as somebody's bookkeeper or the agent, or I might be married to some guy in here, you know? It's like,
I'm just known as the IT guy.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
it's like-
I know. What are you here to fix? Like, you know? Oh,
Great.
you're here. No,
and if
I'm
I
here
shave
to-
my face, then it's like, okay, we're waiting
IT
for
kid,
August.
right? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so I was always kind of like, you know, and I would always go, no, I am here to write the check. I'm the investor. I'm
Yeah.
a real estate investor, you know, that and would run my deals from start to finish. And that was just like unheard of, you know. So I sat in many rooms that didn't look like me. But I was like, this is the place where you learn the business. So this is the place I need to be. And so I think about that, like, what if I stopped showing up? What if any point I, you know, got in my own head of, you know, you shouldn't keep going to those meetings, you know. Like I wouldn't have gotten half of the things or known half of the
Yeah.
things that I know. And so I wanted to change that for other people. The inspiration part comes from you seeing more people that look like you actually doing that.
Yeah.
And that gives you like the ability to say, she did it, I can do it. He did it, I can do it. So you got to see that more. And we have to share that information more, like how I did it. And then that becomes that empowerment piece. And so I'm always like, inspire people through, and then the inspiration comes from inside, like where it's like, if she did that or he did that, I can do what I want to do, is possible. And so you got to see more Black people doing that and doing it at a good level and doing it in a way that is really trying to move the needle.
So we've been talking about money, we've talked about entrepreneurship, we've talked about opportunities, we've talked about Black wealth in America. What does wealth mean to
All
Sonia?
of my favorite topics. So that's a great question. Wealth is a mindset, and wealth is living well today while planning for tomorrow.
Living well today while planning for tomorrow.
So it becomes
that's
so
powerful.
relative. And so if you know what those things are, if you can get a definition around that, it helps you in your wealth building.
What are some of the steps you'd recommend somebody take to actually go down that path to understand what living well for them means today?
Yeah.
And then planning for tomorrow? Because a lot of folks will say, well, you know what? I want the 25,000 square foot. I mean, you see this on Instagram all the time.
$1 million don't make you wealthy, rich, anything.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
But I know people who make $1 million and they live off $1.1 million. They're just broke millionaires. Well, I have neighbors that, they might combine $250,000 that have houses paid off, they travel, they have their future nest egg together, and they're wealthy. They have all of their needs of what they're living and planning for tomorrow met. And it's like, and that's how you look at it.
So we're wrapping up. You've got a lot of gold nuggets. We've talked through a lot of topics. There's some tough ones too. If there's one thing that you could do differently, what would it be?
I wouldn't do anything different.
You wouldn't do anything?
I wouldn't do anything different because everything has gave me such an experience, whether that experience knocked me flat on my butt or, took me to the moon.
Without any of those things?
Without any of those things,
we wouldn't even be having this conversation?
Wouldn't do anything different that would have not led me to be here with you today.
Oh.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one. Well, we're gonna go check out some properties, but in order to make that happen, we need cocktails. So we'll.
Ooh.
Yeah, cannot wait.
My kind of show.
All right, here's what's next. We are going to the bar. We're gonna play a game called Yes, No, and What the Here's how it works. We're looking at a bunch of properties on Craigslist and also on roofstock.com. And we're gonna analyze them, just in real time, free flow. We're gonna pull up a couple and see what Sonia thinks. Is it a good deal, is it a bad deal, or is it a kind of deal? And maybe not as.
Maybe not.
Maybe just a little.
If it's real bad, it might come out.
So property number one is
Okay.
on 1508 Myrtle Lane in Augusta. Now Augusta's turning out to be a heck of a hot market.
Heck of a hot market.
It's a little way from Atlanta. It's $150,000. What does Sonia's eyes see here?
Well, I love Augusta.
Yeah.
And I love the price. The price is $150,000.
Yeah.
And what I love about this Roofstock app is how you get to play with the numbers, and when you can go in and say, well, my cap rate, I want this type of cap rate, I want this type of cash flow, that kind of pre-stuff we were talking about before, knowing what you're looking for.
What's really cool here is
it helps you to do that.
The estimated market rent calculator.
Yeah.
It already says your rent's going to be about $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
And that's what they're saying is the estimated market rent. You can also click on custom and you can adjust any of these numbers as well. So if
That
the
is
market
super
rent
cool.
is $1,100,
Yeah.
but you're like, well, no, they're actually understating that.
Yeah.
Maybe the market rent is $1,200 or $1,250.
Right.
This is one of the things that, when I'm looking for properties,
Yes.
I need full analysis that
Me
the
too.
MLS does not give me.
That's so true.
It just-
Fall in love with the numbers and not the property. That's what I say. You gotta have those. You
Dude,
gotta get
seriously.
to the numbers.
Yeah.
Anything.
So check out roofstock.com for sure. But overall, this property.
I love this property. It's good cash flow for your entry point.
Yep.
Good return.
See, cash flow is saying 8,207.
Yeah.
So it's about $8,000. Maybe let's round up to $8,500.
Right.
Your gross yield, your rental yield every single year is 8.8 to 8.9. So let's just round up and call it a 9.
Yep.
If you add in the home price appreciation at 2.5, you're at 11.5% potential yield on this property,
Yeah.
which overall is great.
Which
and
is good.
we're also not even talking about depreciation. So I think
Right.
that's really, really
That's
important.
like, what's the game we're playing?
Yes, no, what
Okay, that's a yes.
Here's another property on Craigslist, not on roofstock.com, which is my preferred platform of choice when I'm looking for properties that I can't necessarily find on the MLS,
Yeah.
and also properties that, frankly, I just want numbers on. I get frustrated when I just don't have numbers in front of me.
Right.
I'm a numbers guy, you're a
Yeah.
wealth builder, you're a numbers gal,
Yeah.
and you need the
I need the
analysis.
number, yeah.
You crave the analysis. So many investors make the mistake of going to Craigslist.org, for example, to go find properties. On Craigslist, you barely have any information.
Right.
You've got maybe like a couple of pictures of the property. The interior looks a mess.
A mess. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
But it's,
like
it's
there's-
like one of those sites where investors, sell by owner, newbie, they just kind of, throw their stuff on there.
Yeah,
Because it's Craigslist and.
It's not really
Yeah.
like a professional marketplace.
But yeah.
So, all right, here's the deal. It is in Griffin, Georgia, and it's a cool little town, especially if you buy right.
Yeah.
But here it's a 2-bed, 2-bathroom. No, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath property. They're selling it for $90,000. Looks like they have washer and dryer hookups and off-street parking, which, reading your facial expressions, you're like, this is so sketch.
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
I don't really-
but it also is just like this property a year ago would have been like $50,000.
Right.
But I mean, I think it's at a price for Griffin. Just a no.
It's
It's a what the.
It's a what the
It's a
Okay.
what the.
That's the game. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Hey guys, so here's the thing. We talked about a lot of important topics today. We talked about everything from running a business to entrepreneurship to the fact that you don't have to be super seasoned or you don't have to be like super. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter your race, your ethnicity, your age, the amount of experience you have. You can start a business, you can invest in real estate, and you can build a life for yourself that not only has meaning for others, but that also has meaning for you.
This has been amazing hanging out with you, and I think
same.
hopefully we've encouraged people to start where they are.
Sonia, you're a rock star. Thank you
Okay.
so much. So check it out. We're gonna have many more shows like this one, but it can't be like this one because Sonia's not in all of them. If you want to follow the channel, feel free to do so somewhere here. And also go check out roofstock.com. We do talk about money, we talk about finance, we talk about building wealth, but none of these can happen if, one, you don't have the right people, but then also number two, you don't understand the numbers behind what you're buying. You're not just gonna go buy a business or buy a piece of real estate without understanding its true value and understanding how much money you'll make off of it. Get informed, check out roofstock.com. I'll see you later. See, I got the clap this time. You didn't even have to tell me.
You got the clap.
I got the clap.
At the top.